homemade broth. I love making broth in the slow cooker. Did you know that you can do that? This is pretty much why I never buy broth ever anymore. And I think that homemade broth tastes better. So I'm gonna show you some of the things that I do to make homemade broth, and it's really easy. It involves your freezer. Basically, whenever I do meal prep and whenever I have extra vegetables or those ends on your celery or even like the end pieces on your onion, anything like that, throw it into a freezer bag, put it in your freezer, and when it's full, it's time to make broth. And clearly this is not 100% full, but I am gonna make broth today because I have so many people asking me, how do you make broth? How do you make broth? So let me show you how simple this is. I'm gonna let this cook overnight for me in the slow cooker. It's gonna go for like 12 hours. And tomorrow morning, it's gonna be incredible. The first thing, I'm dumping my pieces. So this has, I had carrots, celery, and onion pieces all into this. And then also this celery is about to go bad. It's not bad, but can you see how it's like, it's very sad celery now at this point. If I don't use celery in time, at this point is when I will just cut it up and use it in a broth. So these are pieces like bones from chicken, and so I'm making a bone broth. The way you can do this is if you ever grab a rotisserie chicken from the store, just go ahead and throw the bones and leftovers into your freezer, and you can just make broth with it whenever you are ready. So we're gonna dump in those bones. I've already dumped in my carrots, my celery pieces, dumped in another bone. There's the skin on there, you don't have to clean it or anything. We're gonna chop up that celery a bit. I am gonna throw this whole thing in. So I always have an end of celery whenever I'm cooking. I'm always gonna throw that in. I know, this actually, I usually cut my celery and I end up storing it in water and it makes it last way longer, but I did not put intentionality this time, so I would love to try that though. I haven't tried it with aluminum. That's a great idea. My essential ingredient in broth, every time I make it, is bay leaves. I think that it gives you a depth of flavor in the recipe. So I always add 2 bay leaves whenever I'm making a broth. And this is gonna come out as a really great bone broth, and you know, you can make as much or as little as you like. So then I also have this garlic paste. Now I normally use garlic powder or fresh garlic. I bought it for a recipe. I can't exactly remember why, but I know it's not gonna last me forever. And I haven't really enjoyed using it for a lot of recipes, so I'm gonna add some garlic paste into here. I don't really have set amounts of what I do, and I love garlic, so if that ends up being a lot. And then we're gonna add salt, pepper, water, and we'll be done. That's all it takes. You can add as much or as little salt as you like. What do you use garlic? Do you use it just like you would use any other, garlic and seasoning? I'm gonna put about 2 teaspoons of salt in here. And then I'm probably gonna do about a teaspoon of pepper. Here we go. So here, this is what I do with my pepper. I grind it up and I leave the lid on. I get this at Costco, it's fantastic. And then when the lid comes off, so does all the pepper. And that way I can actually measure instead of, grinding and being like, I have no idea how much I just put in, although I do tend to guesstimate. So let's fill this up with some water in the sink. Well, actually, maybe I'll pour it in with a little scooper. I am just gonna use this bowl. I can't find my measuring cup. There is not a right amount of water to put in. You're gonna put in as much as your container can hold. Depends on how much broth you want, how much do you want it to be able to use. I think soups and all recipes taste so much better with homemade broth. I'm making a homemade broth right now, a bone broth, out of different bones and vegetables that I've had in my freezer. You can make fish stock this way. You can make vegetable broth this way. You can make any broth you want. All you're doing is you're cooking your vegetables in water for a really long time. And I let this go for about 12 hours in the slow cooker on low, and then you're just draining out those vegetables and you've got a really great flavorful broth. It's really amazing.